Hey guys, welcome to the Old Ultra Runner channel. I'm your host Jay Tyner, and today I wanted to do my race report on the Hachie 50. The Hachie 50 race had a 50-mile race, a 50K race, a marathon, and a 5-person relay. The relay, each of 5 people did 10 miles to do the 50-mile course. The course was held, the race was held in Waxahachie, Texas. It was actually in a pretty little park, a couple connected two parks, a pretty concrete trail that went through a heavily treed area. It ran along a nice little creek over to the side. Very pretty location. The things that made the course a little more difficult this year is there had been a ton of rain the week prior to the race, and the course had become flooded. The course was not flooded when we went, but it was covered, a lot of the concrete trail was covered with some pretty slick mud from the flooding that had occurred earlier. The race is put on by the Waxahachie Runners Club and the Lions Club of Waxahachie. They do an excellent job. The race benefited the Lions Club of Waxahachie, and then the Lions Club of Waxahachie in turn uses that money, and they do lots of work to support children's causes and different educational programs. A very good organization. The race is very well supported by the community. One of the aid stations had the local Boy Scout troop. You also had people from the Lions Club. You had people from the Waxahachie Runners Club. It was a 10-mile course that you did end to end, and you did it 5 times for the 50 miles. You only went about 2 miles between each aid station. There were aid stations every 2 miles. It was awesome. You were supposed to carry something to put your drink in, but they were actually would still hand out cups and drinks and pickle juice, and they had everything you needed to eat or drink along the way. The race had lots of things in our packet, which was pretty neat. First, we got a little antibacterial hand sanitizer spray from Methodist Midlothian, which is real close, the hospital that's real close to Waxahachie. We got a coupon for a free beer from Railport Brewing Company. I'm going to have to go back on a Saturday with my wife and enjoy the free beer from the local brewery. We also got $1 off of a taco at Taco Casa and a little string bag from Taco Casa. Taco Casa also provided food at the end of the race. They had, I believe they were tacos or burritos. I actually, being in the longer race, I did the 50-mile. The tacos were pretty well gone by the time I got there, but there were still chips and sauce and stuff like that you could get, but the actual tacos were gone. Run United is a running store that's down close to that area, and they gave us all buffs. Very nice. And we also got a small thing of honey from Burleson's Honey, which is also a local honey producer in the area. So really nice race packet. The thing that this race is very famous for is when we showed up, they have this chair that I'm in is provided to each of the 50-mile runners. You get a medal if you're in the shorter races, but if you're in the 50-miler, you will get a belt buckle, and you get given a chair. When I checked in the morning, not only did they had a volunteer that walked me out to show me where my chair was, and that became your own little personal aid station. You could set your personal drink things or changes of clothes, things you would have in a drop bag. You could set next to your own personal chair, and the personal chair had your name on it, and the volunteer walked you out so you knew where your personal aid station was. So these nice little camp chairs, and on the back they say Hachie 50, and one of these sponsors was Edward Jones, so they really cool getting a chair as part of the part of the deal. Anyway, I'm going to go and cut and show you some of the race footage I got. I didn't do a ton of recording, but I did do some. I was more focused on the race. So let me cut and go to that right now. And I'll be back with more information about my exact race.
Stay on the edge of the road up here, and so you don't need to be on dirt in this area. There's going to be a cyclist right in front of you. There's cones everywhere. If you run very far on the road without a cone, then you might want to question yourself, why is no one around you? But, I mean, there's lots of cones, there's lots of signs, there's a cyclist. Unless you're the fastest person in the race, follow the person in front of you. Outside of that, a couple of big things, the course does have mud. We've done as much as we can to try to get mud off, but slow down. As you're going through some mud.
Okay, I don't know if you can see, but there is a lot of really slick mud on this course. It's not the whole way, but there's some pretty good sections, and there's a lot of them. We don't have the river crossing we had 2 years ago, but we got a lot of this mud. So I'm just taking it as an opportunity to take it real easy and walk through most of these muddy sections, because I don't recover quite as well as I used to when I fall. I'm at about 6.8 miles in, so it's still real early in the race. Just taking it real easy. I don't want to start too hard like I did a couple years ago. Partly because we're also in the mid to upper 60s with 90 to 100% humidity all day, with a pretty good chance of rain later. Anyway, I'll check in later. Okay, so I just finished the first loop, 157. Trying to take it nice and easy, walking through most of the mud. It is very humid. I don't want to overcook it. Trying to drink a lot, keep going. I will probably slow down some, but that's actually not a bad pace at all for me. Anyway, I'll check in later. Bye. Okay, so I just finished loop 3. The time on the clock was 5:58. So I've done 30 miles. I guess the last loop would have been right at 2 hours. I stopped and changed shoes. Decided to go with something. Those Merrill Bear XS were starting to feel a little thin. So I switched to my New Balance Beacons. I wanted something with a little bit more cushion for the last 20 miles. So I'm just walking, kind of getting off to a slow start this loop, but we'll see how it goes. It's been going okay. Bye. Guys, so I've finished loop 4. I've done 40 miles. The wheels pretty well came off on that loop. I did a 2.5 hour loop, so I'm about 8.5 hours in. It's not going to be quite the time I was hoping for, but we'll get through it and we'll finish. We'll at least finish. I got lots of time to finish. I've still got 5 hours till the final cutoff, so I think I can do 10 miles in 5 hours. So I'll at least be a official finisher. Anyway, we'll check in later. Okay, welcome back. Yes, so some of the things that made the course a little more difficult this year, I actually went into it. I keep thinking that this race on this course, I'm not a super fast runner, but I do think that being a fairly flat, fast, and
concrete paved course that I should be capable of maybe breaking 10 hours for the course for 50 miles. When we got there though, we were learning the day before, a day or two before, they were telling us that there was mud on the trail. And they also, the weather forecast was for 90 to 100% humidity the whole day and possible rain. I will say we never really got rained on very hard. We did get a few sprinkles that actually felt nice. I wish it would have rained some more. It did make it a little bit difficult for me because I have gotten to where I don't handle high humidity real well. But I was very conscious of that fact, and I drank tons of water the day before and a lot of water throughout the day. I actually had to stop. It's very unusual for me, but I had to stop during the race 4 times to go to the bathroom. But I held up fairly well in that regard. I started off, I wanted to be conservative. I started out at the 10-hour sort of pace. I ran the first 3.5 miles with my friends Ross and Ginger, who actually always run very smart. Then I switched and I ran with Wayne Schlosser, a friend of mine from the Trot gang, the Trail Racing Over Texas gang. He lives down in College Station. And I ran with him for the next 20 miles. He's also a very smart racer about pacing. At about mile 23, we were staying on the pace to run a 10-hour 50-miler, but Wayne decided that was a little bit too much for him. He was going to slow down, but I decided to keep going. I was still feeling pretty good at that point. So I maintained the pace and I wasn't running with Wayne anymore. I got to mile 30 and the wheels kind of fell off after that. I started off, I had said I was going to go into the race and run wear my new Atreyu, the Artist carbon fiber plated shoes because it was on concrete. But when I learned about all the mud that was on the course, I was a little bit concerned about running in the Artist because it has a real flat bottom, and also they're a pure white shoe. I didn't really want to get them all muddy. So I decided to just run in, I ran in some, they were Merrell Bare Access XTRs, which are like a light trail shoe, and the grip I think did help some. By the time I got to mile 30 though, they are a pretty thin shoe, pretty firm shoe. I decided I wanted a little more cushion, so I switched to my New Balance Beacons and gave myself a little more cushion for the last 20 miles. Like I said, I started not feeling so good at mile 30 and I definitely slowed down. Each of my first 3 10-mile loops I did in around 2 hours. A little bit under, a little bit over, but right about 2 hours. I was probably I think I was at 30 miles in 5 hours and 58 minutes. But in the 4th loop, I really slowed down. I didn't feel great, but I just kind of went into the survival mode and ran some and walked some, and I finished the 4th loop in about 2 hours and 30 minutes. So I was about 8 hours and 30 minutes or thereabouts in after 4 loops. The 5th loop, I ran a similar sort of pace. I was a little bit faster the 5th loop. I felt a little bit better. I did some of the recording that you saw during the 5th loop. I think I did the last loop in around 2 hours and 25 minutes or something. I ended up with officially like 10:53:59. So I'm still saying 10:53, but I was pretty much 10:54. But that's actually a pretty decent time for me, and especially when you consider the humidity that usually gives me fits, I'm fairly satisfied with the time. I will say I had a lot of fun there. I got to run, like I said, with Ginger and Ross and Wayne. I also met new friends like Nancy and Jessica, and I saw other friends of mine, Matt and Mark, and anyway, there were several friends, and I know I'm leaving some people out. But it was really cool because of the out and back nature of things. Even if you weren't running with people, you were still getting to pass people you knew and talk to them fairly often. And it was cool to keep up with other people's races. When G. Wayne was there, and I got to see him, and he was trying to finish. He was real worried about the time limit, but he was able to finish and get his 50-mile belt buckle. anyway, it was a great experience. I enjoyed it, and if you are willing to run on pavement for an ultra marathon, I would recommend giving it a try. It's a very well supported race. This is the belt buckle that I got. I'll try to take a photo of it and have a little bit bigger picture. But it was a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed the content. If you're interested, follow my channel, and I'll have more of these stories, more adventures coming up. Anyway, thank you very much.